Hi, my name is Lyric, and today we are going to be continuing my series to see what if the NBA had an MVP for each conference, and a similar system to the MLB does. In this series, we look at every season in NBA history to see who would have won the MVP for the Western and Eastern Conference. We've already done this for the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, so go check out those videos afterwards if you haven't. Today we'll be covering the decade of the 1960s. Comment below if you agree or disagree with these picks, and how do you think these awards would affect these players' legacies. Alright, let's begin. In the year 1960, Wilt Chamberlain won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Bob Pettit of the St. Louis Hawks. Wilt Chamberlain this season won MVP in just his rookie season, becoming the first rookie to ever do so and only one of two to ever do so. As this season, he averaged an insane 38 points, 27 rebounds, and 2 assists per game on 46% shooting while leading the Warriors to the second seed in the East, leading the league in scoring and rebounding in his first season. In the West, Bob Pettit averaged 26 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 assists per game on 44% shooting, while leading the Hawks to the first seed in the West. Bob Pettit is one of the most underrated players in NBA history as he put up insane scoring and rebounding statistics that are often overlooked by those of Russells and Chamberlains. In the year 1961, Bill Russell won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have once again been Bob Pettit of the St. Louis Hawks. Russell this season averaged 17 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 assists per game on 43% shooting while leading the Celtics to the number 1 seed in the East. It's also too important to remember that during this time, steals and blocks were not tracked and the DPOY award didn't exist. This actually has a huge effect on Bill Russell's legacy, as his main valuable asset was his amazing defense. But with pretty much every big defensive stat and accolade not existing, it makes it harder to really put his impact into perspective. In the West, Bob Pettit has a second straight season of putting up absolutely absurd numbers as he averaged 28 points, 20 rebounds, and 3 assists per game on 45% shooting while leading the Hawks to the number 1 seed in the West. The West and East MVPs would end up meeting in the finals, but the Celtics would come out on top as Russell led them to their third straight championship and their fourth in 5 seasons. In the year 1962, Bill Russell won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Oscar Robertson of the Cincinnati Royals. This season, Oscar Robertson became the first player in NBA history to ever average a triple-double, as this season he averaged 31 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists per game on 48% shooting while leading the Royals to the second seed in the West. In the East, Bill Russell wins his second straight MVP, as this season he averaged 19 points, 24 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 46% shooting while leading the Celtics to the number 1 seed in the East. This is also probably has to be the most insane MVP race in NBA history, as in the West, not only do you have Oscar Robertson averaging a triple-double, you have Elgin Baylor finishing second, averaging 38 points, 19 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, while leading the Lakers to the number 1 seed in the West. And in the East, you have Wilt Chamberlain averaging 50 points per game to go along with a casual 26 rebounds, while not even winning the conference MVP. Pretty damn insane. In the year 1963, Bill Russell won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Elgin Baylor of the LA Lakers. After having an extremely impressive second-place finish the previous season, Baylor averaged 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 45% shooting while leading the Lakers to the number 1 seed in the West, as he is arguably the most underrated player in NBA history. In the East, Bill Russell wins his third straight MVP, as this season he averaged 17 points, 24 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 43% shooting while leading the Celtics to the number 1 seed in the East. The West and East MVPs would once again meet in the NBA Finals this season, as Russell would once again come out on top, leading the Celtics to their 5th straight championship and their 6th in 7 seasons. In the year 1964, Oscar Robertson won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Wilt Chamberlain of the San Francisco Warriors. The conference MVP system is a bit odd here, as these two had previously won conference MVPs for the opposing conference. Though they had not switched teams, their teams had just switched conferences. As the Warriors had moved from Philadelphia to San Francisco, Wilt Chamberlain now went to the West MVP, as this season he averaged 37 points, 22 rebounds, and 5 assists on 52% shooting, while leading the Warriors to the number 1 seed in the West, obviously leading the league in scoring. In the East, Oscar Robertson wins his second MVP, as he averaged 31 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists per game on 48% shooting, while leading the Royals to the second seed in the East, as he is just 0.1 rebounds per game shy of having a second season of averaging a triple-double. In the year 1965, Bill Russell won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Jerry West of the LA Lakers. His teammate Elgin Baylor had won the MVP just 2 years earlier, as West now takes the crown, as this season he averaged 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 50% shooting, while leading the Lakers to the number 1 seed in the West. And as previously stated in the 70s video, he also would have won one MVP in the 70s, making him now have a total of 2. In the East, Bill Russell wins his 4th MVP of the decade, as this season he averaged 14 points, 24 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 44% shooting, while leading the Celtics to the number 1 seed in the East. And once again, the West and East MVPs would end up meeting in the NBA Finals, and once again, Russell would come out on top, winning his 7th straight championship and his 8th in 9 seasons. In the year 1966, Wilt Chamberlain won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have once again been Jerry West of the LA Lakers. West wins his 2nd straight MVP and his 3rd overall, as this season he averaged 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists per game on 47% shooting, while leading the Lakers to the number 1 seed in the West. In the East, Wilt Chamberlain, now of the Philadelphia 76ers, wins his 3rd MVP, as this season he averaged a league-leading 34 points, a league-leading 25 rebounds, 5 assists per game, on 54% shooting, while leading the Sixers to the number 1 seed in the East. In the year 1967, Wilt Chamberlain won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Nate Thurmond of the San Francisco Warriors. Thurmond is one of the most underrated players in NBA history, as he was mainly known for his defense in an era where steals and blocks were not calculated. In this season, he averaged 19 points, 21 rebounds, and 3 assists per game on 44% shooting, while leading the Warriors to the number 1 seed in the West. In the East, Wilt Chamberlain wins his 2nd straight MVP and his 4th overall, tying Russell's total for the decade. This season, he averaged 24 points, 24 rebounds, and 8 assists per game on 68% shooting, while leading the Sixers to the number 1 seed in the East. Putting down his scoring, he became much more of a passer, helping the team out much more, as he led the league in rebounding and field goal percentage. The West and East MVPs met in the NBA Finals, where Wilt came out on top, winning his first championship. In the year 1968, Wilt Chamberlain won his 3rd straight MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Lenny Wilkens of the St. Louis Hawks. Wilkens is the 2nd Hawk to win MVP this decade, but he's not a player that is typically talked about that much, as this season he averaged 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists per game on 44% shooting, while leading the Hawks to the number 1 seed in the West. In the East, Wilt wins his 3rd straight MVP and his 5th of the decade, surpassing Russell's total, as this season he averaged 24 points, 24 rebounds, and 9 assists per game on 60% shooting, while leading the Sixers to the number 1 seed in the East, leading the league in rebounding and assist, becoming the only center to lead the league in assist in NBA history. Finishing off the decade, in the year 1969, Wes Unseld won MVP while playing in the Eastern Conference, and this season the West MVP would have been Elgin Baylor of the LA Lakers. Baylor randomly comes back in the last year of the decade to win his second MVP at the age of 34, as this season he averaged 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 45% shooting while leading the Lakers to the number 1 seed in the West. In the East, Wes Unseld became the second and last rookie to ever win MVP, as this season he averaged 14 points, 18 rebounds, and 3 assists per game on 48% shooting while leading the Bullets to the number 1 seed in the East. Overall, here are the MVP winners for the 1960s. Starting off with the West, we have 60 Bob Pettit, 61 Bob Pettit second, 62 Oscar Robertson, 63 Elgin Baylor, 64 Wilt Chamberlain, 65 Jerry West, 66 Jerry West second, 67 Nate Thurmond, 68 Lenny Wilkins, and 69 Elgin Baylor second. Also, Jerry West now has a total of 3 if you include the one he won in 1970. And in the East, we have 60 Wilt Chamberlain, now second, 61 Bill Russell, 62 Bill Russell second, 63 Bill Russell third, 64 Oscar Robertson second, 65 Bill Russell fourth, 66 Wilt Chamberlain third, 67 Wilt Chamberlain fourth, 68 Wilt Chamberlain fifth, and 69 Wes Unseld. Do you agree or disagree with these picks, and how do you think these awards would affect the legacies of these players? Make sure to check out my other original NBA content on this channel if you like something similar to this at all. And yeah, bye.